Hello, wow, you got here. So, good morning, everyone. So I'm honored to serve as a moderator for this very gorgeous session. As AI grows from emerging technology to core infrastructure for nations, the concept of AI sovereignty is becoming more urgent than ever. In this session, we will explore how leading nations are developing independent technology AI system, what it takes to achieve technological autonomy without sacrificing global cooperation. We are privileged to be joined by two pioneers who are shaping AI landscape in their respective country. First one is Martin Cohn, yeah, Dr. Martin Cohn, Cohere's CEO and chairman. Actually, is a leading Canada AI company. Do you know market cap of Cohere's is simply off the chart. It's countless. So he's one of the richest guys in Canada. And also he used to work for Google YouTube, and then he served working for global major consulting company BCG. So please give it a big hand to Martin. And also, next speaker is Dr. Sunghyun Park. Korea's one of the leading AI semiconductor company competing NVIDIA. Also, he worked for Intel and SpaceX and then Morgan Stanley. Okay, so now before that, so we're gonna each speaker's presentation at first to get some insight, and then after that we will have some discussion. In the end, we will have some floor question session. Okay, so also please give Dr. Park, Sunghyun Park, please give a big hand.
It's an honor to be here. It truly is, with a renowned professor, with a startup founder, the real brains. I do not have a doctorate, so thank you for correcting that. Also, I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak in English. I do speak a few languages. Unfortunately, Korean is not yet one of them. I need to correct that when I have some time. But thrilled to be here. I've had several visits to Korea in the past couple of years and love it every time. I'm still full from breakfast because your food is so incredible. But let me talk a little bit about our perspective on sovereign AI and a little bit maybe about Cohere. Our view is that ordinary AI isn't built for business. Lots of chatbots out there, lots of LLMs, lots of APIs you can call. That's ordinary AI. It's incredible, but it's not built for business. The world's leading enterprises and governments require secure AI that accelerates time to real-world impact. And that's 100% what we built our company around. Some of the challenges I'm sure you're all familiar with. There's challenges with accuracy. Many struggle with inaccuracy and the security of the answers that are given with consumer chatbots or consumer models. Challenges with privacy. Over 1/3 of employees have acknowledged sharing sensitive work information without their employer's permission. And challenges going into production. It's great to do a proof of concept that impresses the boss, impresses the board, that 5 people use. But putting that into production in a robust way for the entire corporation to use and their customers is a very different thing. Over 85% of AI projects fail to go beyond experimentation. That's why we built Cohere. So Cohere is the only secure AI for business company. We were born in Canada, but built for the world. So we were founded in Toronto around U of T, as many may know. That is the birthplace of modern AI, around Professor Geoffrey Hinton, who recently won the Nobel Prize. All 3 of our co-founders studied under him, as did many other AI leaders in the world. We have offices in San Francisco, New York City, Montreal, London. In fact, I think we actually officially have one in Seoul already, as well as our first APAC office and our hub in Asia Pacific. And my colleague Andrew Chang is our vice president of APAC, who's based here in Korea and leads our business across the region. Soon to come in Paris, Tokyo, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia. But what we do is not just do POCs. We don't do consumer chatbots, and we never will. What we do is the hard stuff, the 90% of an iceberg that is underwater. All the things to actually make it work in production in enterprise and government environments. It's not just a slick GUI around someone else's model. You need to build all the tech, all the yucky stuff, the tool connectors, observability, agent orchestration, model routing, databases, infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not about someone, like I said, as a kid, my father and I would buy parts from Radio Shack and build a transistor radio when I was 10. That was fun. But we didn't use that to play music in the evening to our guests. That's what many companies are doing, trying to cobble together, trying to piece together bits and pieces. Those are not industrial strength, those are not enterprise grade. And you see we've focused on working with some of the world's most demanding, sophisticated, and respected organizations to do the really, really hard stuff first. Our first major deployment was Oracle. We have a deep partnership with Fujitsu. We're thrilled with our very deep partnership with LG CNS here in Cohere. SAP out of Germany, Dell, CoreWeave, STC, the largest telco in the Middle East. Actually, we recently added Bell, the largest telco in Canada, as well as McKinsey, Accenture, and you can see some of our customers, the biggest airline in Latin America, the biggest company in Canada, the biggest automotive company, the biggest company in Germany, et cetera. And the key thing here is that there's a big difference between companies that just put a wrapper around other people's tech, and there are thousands of those, and those that actually create their own tech, and in many cases, in our case at least, invent it. And so our three co-founders all studied under Jeffrey Hinton. Our CEO, Aidan Gomez, he was one of the inventors of the transformer, the T in ChatGPT, when he was at Google Brain. Joelle Pinault is joining us this month. She led AI research at Meta. Phil Blunsom, our chief scientist, he led the language team, built and led the language team at Google DeepMind. Nils Reimers is considered the world's expert on semantic search. He invented sentence transformers. Many here, I'm assuming, have heard of RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. That term was coined by a chap called Patrick Lewis, who happens to be at Cohere, when he was back at Meta as the lead author on that paper. And so we have people who are really driving the forefront of this technology and then determining how to deploy that in enterprises and government at massive scale. I'll move on here to some of the key things. Sovereign AI. Many of the consumer chatbot companies have taken billions of dollars from their hyperscaler parent, and they are exclusive to those hyperscalers. OpenAI is exclusive to Azure, Gemini is exclusive to GCP, Anthropic is exclusive to AWS and GCP. We deploy everywhere. We deploy on every hyperscaler, but 91% of what we do, almost all of it, is private deployment. We ship our tech to your data, whether that's virtual private cloud on a hyperscaler, whether that's a regional cloud, like a neighbor cloud, or G42 in UAE, or whether that's all the way to on-prem, where we ship this into the building of our customers and governments because they demand the highest levels of data security. That is already sovereign, not just in a country, but in an organization, if that's the importance for data privacy. We also do that on 4 different platforms, NVIDIA, AMD, both of whom are investors, Grok and Cerebras, because we want to be cloud and hardware agnostic. Maybe we'll have to have a chat about broadening that group to 5. And with the highest standards of security and privacy, ISO 27001, a lot of the boring stuff that no one thinks about, but CTOs and CIOs and CISOs do think about it. Sovereign AI can't just be a model that someone trained in a country. It's about getting capabilities out so that it actually is being deployed valuably. And we are rapidly becoming the partner of choice in the non-English world. We have objectively the best capabilities multilingually across the top 23 global business languages. Our search and retrieval works across 109. And that's widely seen, RWS as the world's leading language services and content localization company that says objectively Cohere is the best by far, and watch this space for things that we may potentially do together. But the key thing is that's a starting point. We believe in customization and configuration. And so, for example, with LG CNS, we have a wonderful partnership where we took that incredible starting point that I just showed you, which is already world-class, even best-in-class, as a starting point to make it even better. And so we've worked with LG to create, you could say, sovereign AI capabilities for Cohere, which is just objectively better than anything else in the market, including our own standard models. And we're thrilled that together with LG, or we enabled them to win a very exciting contract with the foreign ministry in Korea because of these unique capabilities that they had. So sovereign AI also means world-class capabilities, so you're not compromising, but that are customized and configured for what you need it for. We're doing the same in Japan with Fujitsu, with Takane, which is objectively the best in the market. 85 companies reached out to them when they released Takane to say, we want to work with you because you have the best capabilities for Japan. This was actually voted by NVIDIA as the top Japanese sovereign AI capability. We're doing the same with STC across 12 different Arabic dialects, something that they cared about because of all their different opcos, operating companies in different parts of the Middle East. They needed different dialects to be used. We're doing the same with RBC, a bank. They have 14 risk departments and the federal regulator. And we had to make sure all 14 risk departments said, yes, this is fine to use this. They could roll this out now, thousands, soon 91,000 employees to use it. And this is privately deployed on-site, on-prem. So it's not just in Canada, it's inside their own buildings. And then lastly, and I'll finish here, governments are seeing the value of this. So we recently signed an MOU with the Prime Minister of Canada. I think you maybe talked to his predecessor earlier today or heard from him, and the Prime Minister of the UK to power their AI transformation, because our capabilities are world-class as a starting point and then become even more localized for each specific environment. And so that would be the point I'll end on, which is I'm proudly Canadian. I would not buy Canadian chocolate just because it's Canadian. I don't want to compromise on the quality. And therefore, countries cannot just buy sovereign local AI just because it is local. If it's not the best in the world, that's not a very good position to be in. Just like Korean Airlines, I flew over, lovely flight. It was a Boeing jet. It probably would not have been quite as good a ride if it had been some random company that just happened to be local. Same in Canada, we don't have our own jets. But it is still a sovereign airline. It is still doing the things that Korea needs, Canada needs. But leveraging world-class capabilities with a company that's willing to spend the time to customize and configure and deploy locally, privately, wherever it's required for the country, or even the individual business, the bank, the government organization. It's not just sovereign within the borders, but sovereign within their own data environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin, your fantastic presentations. We can understand what you are doing right now. And then next, Dr. Sunghyun Park, please.
Yeah, 안녕하십니까, 리벨리온 박승현입니다. Unfortunately, I'm a doctor because I wasted 5 years at MIT. So, yeah, that's the beginning of my career. It's fucked up. So, yeah, fortunately and unfortunately, I have a doctor here. By the way, I'm co-founder and CEO of the Rebellions. We are building AI chips and AI hardware highly optimized for AI inference workload. So we're Rebellions, the one and the only AI chip unicorn in APAC. The market cap is bigger than 1 billion USD because depending on the currency at the moment. So right now, we just 5 years ago, and basically, let me introduce myself first. I spent 11 years in the United States, 5 years at Boston and MIT for my PhD, another 6 years as Professor Hong said, the SpaceX, Intel, and Morgan Stanley in New York. But the reason I came back to Korea to found the company here, we realized that semiconductor hardware is all about the ecosystem, not just standalone. Even though United States far away that our APEC region, we realized the semiconductor in the United States is going down. But in APEC, for example, Taiwan, Korea, and Singapore is going up. Point is here. Even more than 10 years ago, I was TAing at MIT and realized a sophomore, the second semester, 1/3 student, only 10 students out of 1/3 student in ECS. Only 10 students major in EE. Another 120 major in computer science. Meaning that in Canada, I believe, in the United States, all young blood and great mind specialized in the computer science software. No more hardware anymore. So ecosystem going down. That exactly happened 20 years ago in memory sector. That's why Samsung and SK Hynix going up. So we realized exactly the same thing happening again in the system sector. That's why I came back to Korea to establish the company. So that's the story of our rebellions. I'm so proud of our strategic investors, SK Hynix, SK Telecom, Korea Telecom, and right now, so in this round, Samsung also joining. So also we are very proud of our Korean government bank, KDB, and international investors like Pavilion Capital under the Temasek in Singapore, Cohere Capital from France, and Digidaya Ventures in Japan. So right now I'm going to the example of a sovereign AI built for worldwide, what the Korea said. So I'm also proud of our global customer, not just investors, global customers. So one example is Aramco in Saudi Arabia, which delivered rack scale solution. It's not just hardware, it's alongside with software. Right now it's running Alarm, developed by Staya. It's Arabic LLM, is right now running and commercialized. We also have some customer in Japan, Entity Docomo and Sing, and also Penguin Solution in the United States, and IBM TJ Watson in New York. So I'm so proud of a global investor. Again, we are going global, even though we are based on Seoul. But point is, so we talk about later, the definition of sovereign and sovereignty is, build, but communicate externals is going global, build together. That's, I believe, the definition of sovereign. So let me talk about our market and go-to-market strategy. Again, AI computation consists of two parts, training and inference. Training, for example, you can build your own foundation model. Unfortunately, I believe almost, I'll say, maybe AMD might be the good option, but for the training part, NVIDIA might be the only option at the moment. Not just hardware, interconnect, NVLink, InfiniBand, or the software and CUDA ecosystem. But in terms of inference, if you're using NVIDIA stuff, it's hard to get, hard to obtain, it's super expensive, it takes a lot of power and not energy efficient at all. So when you do actual business using inference, please our own hardware rebellion. We're not saying that we're not competing with NVIDIA at the moment. At the end of the day, yes, we're definitely going to compete with NVIDIA, maybe 5 years later, 10 years later. But right now, we claim that we are supplementary of the NVIDIA's only for inference, because we give a highly energy efficient solution compared to GPU from NVIDIA and AMD. So we are targeting inference, the market size more than 150 billion in 2027. That's our market and go-to-market strategy. We delivered hardware, something like that. So last, I'd like to share our demonstration. So can you click the show our demonstration? Real-time demonstration we saw 1.5 years ago, ISCC. Only 4 teams present the paper, the processor session in the ISCC, MediaTek, Intel, AMD, and Rebellion. So I'm so proud of that. Yeah. So I'm not saying that we are better than NVIDIA product. It's not true. I'm going to jail if I say that. But the point is here, so in terms of inference, we can offer highly energy efficient solution. It's a batch 8, same software, but 2 different hardware side. Left, from your side, left side, our Rebellion AI chip, right side, it's NVIDIA A100. It's really energy efficient products here. We normalize the performance, exactly same performance, token per second normalized. The power consumption here, the purple represent the power consumption of NVIDIA. On the other hand, the green shows our power consumption, much more stable, much lower energy consumption here. On average, we can offer 3.4 times higher energy efficiency. The worst case wise, all the data center need to be designed for the worst case. It's 5 times higher energy efficiency. Second demonstration is text to image. We picked up, we also normalize the performance. Exactly same image per second, but again, NVIDIA power consumption much more unstable, up and down, sometimes bigger than 300 watts. So it's not just OPEX, it directly reflects some CAPEX in total. So again, in terms of functional diversities, NVIDIA's GPU is much better than us. They can do any kinds of parallel computation. training, inference, Bitcoin mining, or graphics rendering, any kinds of parallel computation. However, when it comes to inference only, some specific model and some batch size and input sequence, as you can see here, our solution offers much higher energy efficiency at the normalized performance. That's the delivery I want to show. Yeah, so that's the beginning of our sovereignty today's discussion. So yeah, thank you, and I'm very honored to present here with the Cohere and the Professor Hong. So thank you very much.
Wow, wow, thank you very much. Rebellion is a very competitive edge technology, especially energy efficient functionality. Good, so let's get into our discussions. So some people describe the AI sovereignty as a kind of new digital colonial era. Also, some people say that AI is the kind of nuclear weapon of the 21st centuries. So why has the idea of sovereign AI is so urgent in the today's global context? How do each of define AI sovereignty within the reality of your countries and your nations? So who's going to first? So you. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I can certainly start. First of all, I think what we're going through now is the biggest disruption and transformation in the human-computer interface in over 30 years, since the Mosaic browser came out in 1993. Unfortunately, I'm old enough to remember that very well. And everything changed with digital. We're going through that now. Everything will change. We're maybe in the, I don't know, second inning. I know people in Korea like baseball as well. But it will change everything, how we work as employees, how we engage with our service providers. Now, I think the point about sovereign AI, people have started talking about that lately, but that has been an issue that we've been thinking about since day one, because sovereignty, there's a number of elements. The first one is just data privacy, and that doesn't mean it needs to be in a country. For example, if Germany says they want to have sovereign AI, does that mean Deutsche Bank will be fine sending their data outside of their bank to some German data center in Flensburg just because it's in Germany? Of course not. So data sovereignty could be at the country level, but also could be at the company level or the government agency level, certainly for national security and defense and things like that. That's point number one. But point number two is that enterprises and citizens, residents want to use technology that reflects their values, that reflects their needs, their laws, their regulations. And if everything is based on generic capabilities, generally from US big tech, that's challenging. I used to work at Google. We'd push out a new feature in YouTube, and a minute later or a second later, 2.8 billion people are using it. But by definition, it's generic, because everyone in the world has pretty much the same thing. If you have a consumer chatbot with 500, 700 million users, by definition, it's generic, because everyone's using the same thing. But people in Korea, or a bank in Korea, or a bank in Kenya don't need the same generic capabilities. They do need to have world-class frontier tech, but it needs to be configured and customized for their needs. And lastly, you need to know that there's not a kill switch, that the continued access to that technology can't be pulled back because someone sitting in another country decides that you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't have that. And that's why I think we built our business. There are 6 companies in the world who make frontier AI from scratch, not taking other people's tech. Cohere is one. The other 5 are all controlled by US big tech. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, X. And now we have people who have been at the headquarters of US big tech. You saw some of the folks that we have, or global tech. But we are independent. We have not taken a massive check from our hyperscaler. We have not taken a massive check from US big tech. We have a very diversified cap table, as it sounds like you do as well, so that we can do what's right for our company and for our customers, and of course our shareholders. And that means taking the best technology in the world that is frontier, but then customizing and configuring it for Korea, like we're doing with LG CNS, specifically for financial institutions and government, like we're doing with Fujitsu, like we're doing with Aramco and STC, like we're doing with Bell. And we ship our tech to your data. We do not ask you to ship your data to our tech, which means it's all, I guess physically, metaphysically, it is all in your data environment, whether that's in the country, whether that's in your company, whether that's a specific technical setup. And that is quite unique compared to the others who basically see their tech as a way to sell more compute and keep you tied into their infrastructure. And that infrastructure could, at any time, be cut off. So I think it's those three things: the data sovereignty, which is not just at the country level, also at the agency or enterprise level. It's the customization and configuration of frontier tech that's best in the world that then can be customized, not taking third best just to keep it local. And thirdly, making sure that you have ongoing access to this without someone else deciding on it. And I do agree, just last point, and I'll hand it over, but I do agree with you. I think it's great that you said you might train your models with NVIDIA, but inference is the one that's going to go like this. That means serving them. And that's where, again, we use NVIDIA and AMD, but we want to be able to serve these models on every technology that our customers want. And so in Korea, it may be different, or not just in Korea, but in Saudi, we both work there. And so I think that fits very well with what you were saying.
Yes, by the way, it's not fair. He speaks very well. I realized he's working at BCG. So
well, we could move into Korean, and it would then look very different.
So next time we'll talk to in Korean, yeah. So getting back to your question, why sovereign AI is so important at the moment here. So I believe AI right now, core driver of the national, how can I say, security, something like nuclear weapon, the core driver of national competitiveness and the national security. That's the point. So we don't yet know the potential of AIs. We talk about agent AI, all about that. But right now, at the moment, it's just a chatbot. Beyond the chatbot, what's going on? But we believe it's more than chatbot at the end of the day. So we believe a new administration in Korea and other administration in Canada also believe it's the national security, something like, again, nuclear weapon. That's why everybody talks about the sovereign AI. But for me, I love sovereign AI because it's aligned with our interest, rebellion's interest. But I also understand somebody saying that, okay, sovereign AI is fucked up because we only Korean understand. So sovereign AI is something like Area Hangul in Korea. Area Hangul might be okay, but Pariro Cola? Okay, something like, wow, so sovereign screw up. But I'm sorry, it's Korean traditional joke, but they don't respond. It's like Pariro Cola, Area Hangul. I totally understand their opinion. But the point is here, without sovereign AI, but my definition of sovereign AI, we need to build something that we can go global, collaborating together. Right now, I'm working at Aramco in Saudi Arabia. From Saudi perspective, the sovereign AI is to secure multiple channel of all the components, not just NVIDIA, not just only the NVIDIA. NVIDIA and the non-NVIDIA together, heterogeneous AI compute platform, plus United States and non-United States platform together. Export control at the end of the day, nobody knows. That's why Cohere is so attractive in the Middle East, the MENA area. So the point is, we need to collaborating. We have our own asset, not to mention right now, even in Kenya. But we need to also collaborating, work together as a platform to avoid the Pariro Cola and Area Hangul at the end of the day. That's my view. And in terms of sovereign AI, again, I love the sovereign AI. That's the roadmap. And all the AI, non-United States AI company need to go there.
Good perspective, good insight. So next, I'm going to ask Martins. Cohere is taking distinct approach, different from the OpenAI and the Anthropic. So how is Canada is building its own AI ecosystem in terms of technology and talent and the public policies? So, and then what will be the role for Cohere for sovereign Canada's AI? Could you tell us about it? And could you share?
Yeah, I'm a proud Canadian. My mom's German, my dad's British, and I'm now a naturalized American as well. So I've spent about 30 years outside of Canada. And unfortunately, anyone who's Canadian will probably laugh and nod in approval. But the hardest companies to sell to as a Canadian company are other Canadian companies. Because in Canada, you know, the TV's from the States, the sports are from the States. Everyone thinks things from the US or elsewhere are better. And so as we were growing, about 95% of our revenue was from outside of Canada. And that's not unusual because, of course, the markets south of the border and elsewhere are much bigger. The US is 10 times the size. But we didn't quite have, if anything, we had headwinds where they'd say, oh, that's nice, but I'm meeting Sam Altman next week and, you know, get a photo op with him or whatever. That's obviously changed to some degree now, but that's secondary to us. We don't want to be supported, like I said, as the Canadian chocolate maker. No offense, but I don't think Canada makes very good chocolate. They don't have to. We do make very good AI. And we have managed to convince some of the world leaders, including LG, CNS, to work with us, to partner with us closely. Not just use our model and a few APIs, but be the partner for them. Oracle, Dell, Aramco, SAP, Fujitsu, et cetera, et cetera. These are German companies. These are RBC's Canadian. These are Japanese, Korean, Middle East, because we deliver results and we work very well with them. Now, given what's happening geopolitically, it's a little bit of a different environment now, and we are benefiting from that for sure. But we believe we're doing that from a position of already being the best. It's not like Prime Minister Carney is compromising by working with us. I do agree with you fully that this is a really, really important moment. For example, I believe Canada has the opportunity and perhaps the aspiration to be the world leader in signals intelligence and using AI for intelligence, and doing that with our allies, with our close friends like Cohere. We don't all have to do the same thing, just like we recently, Canada bought some technology from Australia to help patrol the Arctic, wide open spaces that they do very well. And so we want to be a big part, an anchor part of the Canadian AI ecosystem. But I think, as you said, not because we're Canadian, because we do have the best capabilities and then can use that to anchor other things. We have a data center now in Canada, the first one, the first supercomputer that's been in Canada. There's plans to do a lot more, but it also makes sense. Canada needs a lot less cooling than Dallas or Virginia. We have clean power, hydro, nuclear, et cetera. So there are real reasons why this can be a real leader in the world. We have places like U of T, University of Toronto with Jeffrey Hinton, like Montreal and Professor Joshua Bengio and Joël Pinault, who's now coming to Cohere. We've got the talent. The biggest thing that I will say, and I do believe that the Canadian government, the UK government, as you saw, have heard this, the biggest thing that a government can do is become a customer. It's not about regulation, it's not about this, it's not about bureaucracy. It's about showing that you're an innovator by deploying this and becoming a customer. You know, it shows you're a leader. It helps us together to develop together the customization, configuration of things that are going to be unique and special for that market. And then, of course, it gives a bit of a brand of approval if the Revenue Authority or the Ministry of Defense is deploying this tech. That means people everywhere else in the world will say, okay, this is legitimate, let's do this as well. So it's not about, you know, as a global citizen, I have 4 passports. It's not about now pulling back and saying we all have to do everything alone now, at all. It's just about saying what are the things that we need to be able to direct and control, but how do we continue to, or maybe even more, collaborate with our friends and allies to create an ecosystem that makes sure that we all have access to the technology we need. And that includes, we're working with Kenya, we're working with talking to Azerbaijan, to many markets who, they're not going to make this from scratch, but they also don't want to have a fourth-rate LLM that someone trained. They want to have the best capabilities like everyone in San Francisco has, but that speaks Swahili and 12 other dialects with the same capabilities, which is what we're doing to partner with them. And so my mind as a Canadian, I believe this is our Canadarm moment. The Canadarm was the space shuttle. There was a big Canada on it, sending our technology literally around the world. And now we want to send our AI technology around the world, but to collaborate with local companies, maybe like yours, like LG CNS, and say, how do we collectively create something, for example, for Korean banks that is exactly what they need, deployed in the way they need it, with the sovereignty and so on that is required, but not saying do it all yourself.
Good. Let's move to Korea. Dr. Park. Yes, doctor. Yeah. The Rebellion is playing a very pivotal role in Korea's AI self-reliance. What are the biggest challenges that Korea face in shaping the autonomous AI ecosystem? And also, what will be the how to help them and to overcome them?
Yeah, basically everything.
Okay.
But the three major factors: limited capital markets compared to the United States, very small. Also, very limited talent pool. But the Canada is perfect fit. In Canada, not just a few big shots. In terms of fundamental research in AI, Canada is not a number two. Oh, yeah, number one, everybody knows. But Canada is perfect in terms of, but we are not. Three, the most importantly, we don't have any AI compute infrastructures compared to the United States. A single company in the United States, entire the number of GPU in Korea versus just a single Meta, we don't have any AI compute capabilities. The three things again: capital markets, talent pool, and more broadly is compute infrastructures. But Rebellions, I am the co-founder and CEO AI chip startup here. Definitely we're tackling the compute infrastructures. So at the end of the day, all citizens, all the people in Korea need to use AI service daily, something like Wi-Fi at the moment. Then it is not a training moment. It's inference, and actual serving size. Then we'd like to serve all kinds of inference traffic. So that's the angle we need to, but eventually, from Korean perspective, definitely we need to collaborating with foreign capital markets. Plus, we need to expand our talent pool. The best example, again, is working with the Canadian government agency or Canadian universities. Also, we need to extend our compute infrastructure. For example, some very good data center in MENA area. So yeah, that's basically a lot of challenges. So if you ask, okay, what's the major reason challenges Korea face? Basically everything. That's why we need to collaborate instead of to compete each other. So I just well aligned with the Cohere, I believe.
Dr. Park, I just wanted to add something because I think this is really valuable for the room. Maybe everyone is aware, but I want to just go back to something you've said a number of times. You need compute for training, and you need compute for inference. Everyone thinks about this one. Stargate, and I have 100,000 GPUs, and Meta has this many. And everyone focuses on the shiny object of, I trained a model. Look at my sovereign model. Every country claims to have one. It's not used for anything. The example that I have used is some of the underlying models will end up being somewhat commoditized. That doesn't mean they're not valuable or really hard. Electricity is a commodity, but it's really, really, really hard to make it. You need a nuclear power plant. We happen to have built one, and a small number of other companies have as well. But you don't walk around saying, do you want 25 kilowatt hours? No. That's where the application solutions come in. And so thinking about the inference side, that's going to be the explosive growth. Similar to, as Korea knows very well, the mobile revolution. You think about how much the prices came down, but the usage went up so much that overall revenue was massively growthful. I believe the same is going to be true. I assume you do as well because you started a company. Our Command A generative model is equally performant with GPT or DeepSeek, but we run on 2 GPUs. DeepSeek needs 8, and GPT-4o needs 16. So you need 4 or 8 times as many GPUs just to run it at the same throughput. That's before you looked at some of the things here, which is the difference between running on GPUs versus your platform. And so we want to run wherever it makes sense for our customers. We love this innovation on the inference side. On the training side, yes, but that's generally a fixed cost. The inference will explode. And that's a really exciting way to think about, maybe in a very different way. Does Korea need to have this much training compute? Maybe some, but how do you think about being a leader in the inference? Same as what I said with Canada, a lot of that should be for serving, for providing access. We're on our mobile phones probably 12 hours a day now, 8 hours a day. It's going to be the same with AI, and you need to power that. But people tend to mix it a bit with the training side.
Yeah, that's all the media covers AI compute, but nobody talks about the difference between training and inference. Yes, I'm totally agree with him. So like training, from Indo's perspective, it's kind of the B2B nature. Only a few tech giants eventually need some kind of the training infrastructure. But when AI becoming in our life, then we need to talk about inference, actual serving. So then we need some our specific solution together with not just NVIDIA stuff, not only the NVIDIA stuff at the end of the day, not just a big tech foundation model. We need to customize. We need to reduce the cost eventually. Like Wi-Fi for me is going to our life.
Yeah, good. So let's talk about the balance between technology autonomy and then global collaborations. National AI strategy often pays attention between protecting sovereignty and participating in global collaborations. So how can countries maintain a technology autonomy without compromising global cooperation? So we need to strike a balance, I think. So what is your just a short opinion?
Yeah, I've touched on this a little bit before. I don't believe that any country should compromise on having the best tech in the world. Otherwise, you end up having the digital divide grow even more. Someone can make a English Swahili LLM. Sure, it'll be fine at speaking Swahili. It's not going to have deep reasoning. It's not going to be able to do multi-step. It's not going to be able to do tool calling. It's not going to be the same tech that is used in San Francisco or London or Seoul or somewhere like that. And so there is an imperative to partner in order to get access to tech that is at the frontier, that is best in the world. You can't compromise. Now, the other side of that is, a lot of that tech is, as I mentioned, by definition, generic. The models are trained with a certain perspective in mind, either that fit the regulations of that country or maybe of that leader. I mean, Elon Musk has been clear about what he wants X to do and not do based on what he wants. And that's fine if you subscribe to that. But it may not be fine in Kenya. And so the ability to be able to localize, customize, configure those capabilities to make sure that historical references, cultural references, regulations, all linguistic capabilities. We spell differently in Canada than you do in the US. In the UK, they use different words to Australia, even in English, let alone all these other languages and environments. That's essential. And that takes much more than just fine-tuning. I liken it a little bit to a cake. So if you take an open source model, like a DeepSeek or Llama, and fine-tune it, that's like deciding what color sprinkles you want on the cake. You can't change the cake. It's already baked. What we believe is because we bake the cakes and we collaborate with LG, CNS, with Fujitsu, etc., we can unbake them, we know the recipe, and rebake them with additional data, different perspectives, different post-training to make something that is much more deeply customized and configured. It's not generic primarily consumer technology that is just kind of tweaked to put in an enterprise, but it is designed for exactly what that country or that sector or that company or agency needs. And so I think it's that combination of you can't compromise on having, like, you're going to want a Boeing or an Airbus jet, maybe Bombardier. I forgot we actually do have it, but I think it was sold to the Brazilians. But you're going to make sure it is consistent with what you need in that country or that enterprise. So I think both of those are equally valuable. The consumer U.S. tech giants are primarily focused as YouTube or Netflix or the others, doing the same thing everywhere in the world, more or less. The others are just tweaking and twiddling other people's technology. We've tried to really focus on being, world class, but then customizing and configured for each of our customers.
Why don't you look at the underdeveloping and developing countries? Because they might don't much have enough time, enough money, and then talent, and then a lot of technologies. In that case, what kind of strategy they should pursue for AI sovereignty? In those kind of contexts, do we need kind of international AI sovereign declaration or something like an international institution, like a UN specialized AI sovereignty? So just short answers. So we have just 3 minutes left.
Yeah, I think I mentioned my international collaboration is great. Certainly a proponent of collaborating and making statements and agreeing on guardrails. We believe in action and doing things, and so we're already doing this. It's just what I said before. You can variabilize the cost for these countries because we can take something that's already incredibly capable and then very quickly and efficiently customize and configure it for what they need. We're literally doing this right now with I mentioned 2 examples here in Asia, but also some of the discussions we're having in Africa, the Middle East, and Central Asia.
Kenya, yeah.
At Kenya as an example of where we're in discussions to say, how do we bring our tech together with their data and so on, and create something that is unique where they don't have to start from scratch. Now, that does not address a big part of the issue of affordability, which is inference. And so they don't need to have massive training capabilities. We can do that for and with them. But then to be able to deploy this to their populace, to their enterprises, if they want to keep, for example, banking data or health data in their borders, they do need to have the infrastructure to do that. And that's where I believe, I'll hand it over, that's where I believe companies like yours, Grok, others are saying, how do we serve also the global south? How do we serve more efficiently? To just like in mobile, just like you saw in mobile in Africa, there's massive usage because the unit costs came down.
Okay, maybe through this will guide both force on the journey toward responsible and inclusive and then truly sovereign AI. So heartfelt thank you to Dr. Park and then Martin Cohn, and then thank you to everyone for your time and presence. Enjoy the rest of the forum. 감사합니다.